What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Blitz City Podcast. I'm your guy, Kobe Orr. This is my guy, Clay McCarter, my co-host, and you already know my boy Kelly Flicks at the bottom, man. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, fellas?
What's the deal? We back. You know what I
We
mean?
back.
Took a little break, but we back now. We missed week 0, week 1, but we back for week 2. Let's get to that.
It was the
Yeah,
right
man,
time.
I
It was
know.
definitely the right time for this. All right, so for those of y'all watching, Blue gonna be on later, man. He kind of waiting to get to the hotel. He'll be on a little later, so don't worry about it. So let's start off with the obvious, right? Y'all know my boy Clay.
Man, we ain't
here.
gonna start with the first topic.
We we gotta get it out the way.
All right, I'm glad Blue's not here for this. We might as well go through it.
Hey, for real, so Florida versus Utah. Let's talk about that matchup and what happened. I'm really shocked by the way this game went. I really am because I'm not really surprised that Utah won, but when you look at it, Florida really did dominate statistically offensively. They had more total yards, they had more passing yards, they were getting more yards per play, they had more first downs. But then when you look deeper at it, you were 1 for 13 on third down conversions. You had more penalties. You were 2 for 5 on what was it? Third? Two for 15, something like that. So when you look deeper at it, it's like I don't know. I feel like that was the cause of it, but Utah, like you said, behind stage, Clay. Kelly. Utah ain't pretty. They're not flashy. They just go out and they get the job done. And I just feel like that was just the cause of the way that they won today. I'm not gonna be like everybody else on the internet that said that little ass stadium comment was the reason why they that was before the game. I'm not gonna do that. Now Utah just played their game, man. They were a lot more efficient when they needed to be, and that's why I think they came out with the win. But what's your thoughts on it?
Kelly, go ahead.
Go ahead. You sure, Clay? All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think you look at this Utah team. Utah and the Pac-12, they've been a model of consistency. Like, no matter how fast our USC teams or our Oregon teams are, when they come to Utah, they slow down just a little bit, right? And you got to play to Utah's pace. And I think Florida never could get on to Utah's pace. Utah had a backup quarterback in there, right? It wasn't Cameron Rising, the guy that's been there for the last 3 or 4 years. This backup quarterback went in there, bought into the game plan, and really ran the Utah offense, right? It's nothing flash at all. It's not very many big plays, but when you make a mistake, if there's a chink in your armor, Utah finds it. So I think with Florida, they had so many different holes, and not necessarily holes as in lacks of talent, but like holes in their offense, defense, or special teams. On offense, consistency-wise in the pass game, it didn't look like Graham Mertz was on the same page with a lot of his receivers. Seemed like a lot of times he was throwing the ball to guys just an extra second too early, or maybe half a second too early. And then defensively, we saw some lapses at times where guys, it seemed like they almost went to sleep, and then Utah finally takes that shot, and that guy's wide open. So I think Florida has a lot to take away from this game. I think the score made it look a lot closer than the game actually was. I think this game was actually dominated by Utah, and Florida has to look in the mirror going into week 2.
It was watching the game and looking at it closely. After I watched the game and got over being as a fan pissed off about how the whole thing happened. I think just generating the momentum. I get that it's a transfer senior quarterback. Coming into a new program, second-year head coach, trying to get acclimated to the offense. I thought he performed better than what I was expecting. He had 10 incompletions. He threw 1 pick, still had 300 yards and a touchdown. It's not a fantastic showcase, but it was over-exceeding for me. I thought he was going to come out there and it was going to be a less than 200 yards, super conservative. We're going to pound the rock. And we really didn't. We didn't really pound the rock in the game plan that I thought we would. I think last year, not biasly, but I think everybody saw what the potential was for Little Etienne and Montrell Johnson. There's no denying, regardless of if you are a fan or not, that those guys have, big play ability. I think defensively, the first play, letting them throw a 70-yard stunner like that to start the game and get the momentum at home, yeah. The coverage right there, they run into each other. Guy breaks out in the end zone. All right, cool. The 60-something, 70,000 people are cheering up and down. Great. Not a good start to the game. I think that there's a lot of things that they need to do better in getting more as a click in the offense. They just came out and said that we're starting freshman 5-star receiver going forward with the season. He's making his first start this weekend. Eugene Wilson III, previous Ohio State commit. I do want to shout out to Armstrong, our defensive coordinator. 29 years old, man, was hired as a linebacker coach at Alabama. Was there for 6 days. Billy Napier hired him as a DC. They averaged 3.3 yards per carry, and they led them to under 170 yards passing. So I'd like to see, hopefully, a bright future out of him. Man, tough loss, but we're on to week 2.
You took that on the chin, Clay. I'm proud of you.
Taking it on the chin. Hey, I mean, I really can't. This is the thing, man. Really can't expect a whole lot out of this team. I can't sit here and beat my chest thinking, we're going to come out here and we're going to be, just hit the ground running. You know what I mean? I mean, it's tough. You're a second-year head coach. You still got to get Mullen guys out of there. He's still got to get his guys in there. He's still in certain phases of changing the culture of the program. This is the first season we've had the new football training facility. I mean, there's a lot of things that are in motion. I got faith in Billy. I think a lot of people are already trying to say he's on the hot seat and stuff. I mean, you can't grant it. The guy came into something that was in shambles. Half the team quit on Mullen that whenever he got fired the week of the Georgia game, and then the first year, his first year coaching there comes in with AR and everybody. I mean, he had all the Mullen guys already quitting because he wasn't going to start them just because they were upperclassmen. Well, I started last year, so what? Somebody else beat you out. You know what I mean?
Right.
He had a good transition class, finished top 12 in transition class. I mean, he's out there recruiting. I'll give it to him. I mean, we're consensus top 3 right now. We got a stud quarterback hopefully coming in if he sticks, which Lagway seems to stick. But I'm excited. I think the future is going to be hopefully a little bit better. It might take us a little bit of time, but I think we got the guy finally. I think Billy's going to be the guy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No need to hit the panic button after one game.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think he's a better coach than McElwain. And I don't think he's as offensively gifted as Mullen. Because, I mean, come on, man. Dan Mullen, whether you like the guy or not, he's an offensive genius. But right. I think that as a CEO style, like Coach said in one of our first episodes, as a CEO style coach, he knows what certain guys need to do in certain jobs. And he knows how to maintain and carry that level of, integrity because he's worked under Saban. He's worked with Kirby Smart. He's worked with a whole bunch of other guys that are head coaches in other places. Sarkisian. So, I mean, I think he's been around enough guys to where he knows how to run a program. He just got to get the right guys there, and then he needs to build his talent pool from a couple recruiting classes. But I'm excited. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Now, we weren't actually supposed to talk about this person supposed to be second, but, I just couldn't wait. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Supposed to be first.
College football's back, baby.
Man. Former 5-star recruit. Man, I had so much potential, I don't know if y'all saw that video of him breaking into a vape shop, just kicking the door down, with his book bag, had on no shirt but a ski mask, because if people wouldn't recognize you, you're a little specimen of a human being. There's not many people like you, where you are. So, and he wasn't even able to get out the door because the alarm triggered. The police were right there waiting on him. It was just embarrassing to watch. What was your thoughts on that video? My man, you just got to Nebraska. They had high hopes for you. They were excited to see what you can do. You had a second chance, and you blew it. You blew it, man. Now you locked up. What was your thoughts seeing that video? Because me personally, I don't know what's going on with him or what would make him do that. Usually you see that kind of thing happen when these guys are away from the game and they can't play anymore, and now they don't know what to do with themselves, so they do stupid stuff like that. He still had an opportunity. So I don't know if this is a mental thing. I'm not just going to give him the mental illness bypass, but I don't know because I don't know him. But what was your thoughts on that video, man?
I mean, first I got to say, look, Eric Gilbert, you did wrong. You know what I mean? And you don't come back from stuff like this. I mean, it almost looked like a joke, right? You watch the video cam, the surveillance, it looked like an episode of Baycar, right? It's like, why would you break in?
Kels, you good?
Me and Kelly both hit a little.
I mean, all right, I guess till Kelly come back, bro. What you think?
Man, my thing is, and this is something that I've always looked at, I'm a person that's always believed in, second chances. I'm a person that's always believed, like, after seeing that, quote the Nick Saban press conference when he said, like, you're gonna like have these kids make one mistake and you want to banish them, you want to ruin their life forever, you want to kick them out of universities, you want to, derail their path if it's the, leading up to a draft and make it so they're gonna result to that life and stick with it because they're upset with themselves and making a mistake. So now they're going to keep going after it because that stuff builds up in your head of, oh, well, I had the opportunity and I blew it. So whatever, I have nothing to lose anymore. I already lost it kind of thing. Mm. But at the same time, you have to look at it with logic. When you're somebody of like that caliber, that nature, I mean, in a social media era where people, you're borderline a household name. People know you. Like, you can't put yourself in situations like this. You can't be out here doing things like that and think that it's, oh, I'm going to get a slap on the wrist. I've never been in trouble. Or, oh, I'm so-and-so. Is whatever. Like, I don't have, like, the sympathy for, like, doing dumb things knowing who you are and, like, the nature of a person that you are and whether it be as a celebrity, an athlete, whatever it might be. And thinking like, oh, I'm just going to name drop. I'm fine. Or you don't even really care about it. You're still just choosing to do something like that. That stuff to me is just, it's always been something that's just blasphemy. It's like, why would you not be more, nurturing and protective over what you have and the abilities and the destinations you can reach by just using your brain? You know what I mean? Mm. But I think whatever comes his way, hey, you made the decisions.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you gotta live with it. I mean, you gotta live with it. You thought it was good in the situation. You thought it was something that was okay. You wanted to go through with it. Then if you were willing to do it, whatever comes your way, man. All right.
That's what I'm like. What was the need for it? Like, were you hurting monetarily? Like, they would have taken care of you, bro. Somebody at Nebraska would have taken care of you out of every player on at least on that roster, knowing who you are. Like, what I just don't understand what the issue is where he felt like he needed to do this. Kelly, before you have blacked out, what were you saying?
But I think you're exactly right. There's a thing as a broke college student, though. You know what I mean? A lot of people are broke college students out there. A guy with Eric Gilbert's stature, even thinking of NIL and the schools that he's come from, he's been around what we would perceive to be some NIL money. Right, we wouldn't perceive him to be one of the guys that's a pro college student. But I think even if you are that player, you cannot resort to this, right? You don't get away with things like this because off the field, you are a 6'5", 260-pound grown man out here, right? You could be looked at as a menace to society. You don't get away with these type of things just because you're a star football player. Sometimes the cops don't even know who you are, right? So I think in Eric Gilbert's case, it's going to take a long time for him to come back from something like this. I don't think he'll ever play football again, but I do think this is something that he'll actually learn from. This has to be a big, embarrassing mark next to his name now, right? And I think it's going to be hard for him to find another college football team to play on whenever he finishes all this law stuff. I think it'll be hard for him to find a professional team that will actually trust him after all this stuff with the law.
I'll say this, though. I think he'll get another opportunity football-wise. I just don't think it'll be Power 5. But
he's gonna
go take him.
D2 or JUCO just because of the ability of what they know that they don't have a guy of that caliber that typically, is somebody that's recruited and plays and goes there. It's typically like a Cam Newton situation or somebody that's we know you shouldn't be in this style and this talent level of football. Not degrading, your smaller colleges and that lower level, not lower level, but it's not obviously Power 5 D1 competing for national championship in your Michigans and all those kind of things, and your obviously multiple other programs, but people are going to take him just off of pure physical ability and knowing that okay, we have a guy that had the ability to do this coming out of high school. He was this. It's no brainer. It's going to be a second chance you type situation. You screwed up. You want opportunity. I'm going to give you one, but you're going to be under the strictest supervision. One screw up, you're gone. You know what I mean? And if you screw up here, where else are you going to go? You know what I mean?
Right. And I hope that really sticks in his head that, you don't want to be that guy who everyone back home refers to as you don't want to be like him.
Yeah, you don't want to be you don't want to be what if.
Exactly.
I do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Miss T's comment under there too. I mean, that's another thing that we don't know as outsiders, as people that just want to talk about football
Mm.
as fans or anything. We don't know what these people go through on a day-to-day life, whatever it is. We don't know if there is certain accumulation of hits or concussions or whatever, that if he reported concussions, he didn't report concussions, if he does have some kind of, you know, injury related to football that is going on mentally, or if it's something that's, a chemical imbalance just off of the way that he is as a human being. I mean, there could be something that was, there could be the mental aspect of it. Who knows? But it's got to be something that has to be further investigation until you just say, well, let's blame it on this. You know what I mean? Like, let the whole thing play out, but, right is right, wrong is wrong.
Right. Right. All right. So moving on to the talk of the college football world right now. Colorado in that game versus TCU. What a game that was. So first of all, I will start off by saying I'm not going to be one of these people who said that I expected this to happen. Because I did not. I thought they were going to lose. I'm going to be honest with you. Even with TCU losing all that talent, I'll also say that I never expected Shedeur or Travis to play, or any Jackson State player that they brought with them to play bad, because I believed in them, but I didn't expect the performance that I've seen from them. I did maybe Travis, definitely not Shedeur. I didn't expect a 500-yard performance in 4 touchdowns like from Shedeur. So looking at that game, man, absolutely just blown away by their performances. But the unsung hero to me isn't even one of those two. It's Dylan Edwards,
Yeah.
right? 4-star true freshman running back. I mean, he's a running back, and yeah, he didn't provide much on the ground. I think 6 attempts, 24 yards rushing, but he did have 5 receptions, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns catching the football. Nobody talked about him, and they should, because that, first of all, that speed is just elite. Kid's a speed demon. Open field, it's over with, right?
Yeah.
He just did a great job, and I think what really lost this game for TCU was the fact that they had 4 more penalties, and plus those 2 interceptions. In a tight game like that, the margin for error becomes a lot smaller. So when you have 4 more penalties than the opposing team, and when you have those 2 picks, even though the last one you kind of had to do something, but still that throw was just not good. That's what happens. That's what leads to the loss for you. But those are my thoughts on the game, man. What about y'all?
I mean, I agree with everything that you're saying. I mean, I definitely didn't think that this is one of those things where I was like, coming into it, I was like, Colorado's got this in the bag, or Colorado's going to be able to. I didn't think there was a doubt that they had the ability to beat them. But like you said, unsung hero, man. I mean, like you said, he's a speed demon. I mean, it could be a one-cut guy. It could be a blow the top off the top of the defense, catch a wheel route lacking, whatever it might be, catch a screen pass, whatever it might be. I mean, he's definitely got some special talent there. Shout out to Sheduer, man. Shout out to Sheduer. I mean, he had some drops that would have made his stats look like I was playing NCAA Road to Glory out here.
Those are Road to Glory stats, though.
I'm talking about taking like UAB to like the national championship Road to Glory type stats for the quarterback. Like, he was balling. I'll give it to him. I'll definitely give it to him. Also, 100 was, excuse me if I'm wrong, 131 snaps for Travis Hunter.
Something like that.
At least 110 snaps. That's what I know. But
I don't know. I saw that he said that after the game, when he was talking on his Discord, or if it was on his Twitch or whatever it was, he said in high school he was used to playing some games that were like 110, 120 snaps in a game. I think it was like 131 or 132 snaps in that TCU game. I mean,
it's unreal, man. I mean, look, man, as much as I like Marvin Harrison Jr., I got to throw Travis Hunter in that Heisman conversation just for what he's doing offensively and defensively, right? So, in my top 5 at the end of the year, he might end up staying in there if he keeps doing what he's doing. But I will say for Colorado, this game against TCU, for Colorado fans, this was a peek into the future, right? This is a Big 12 game. This is what the Big 12 will look like going forward. I don't think they'll score 50 points a week against the Pac-12, but I do think that this Colorado team took advantage of a TCU team that honestly didn't know was going to come. The main questions around Colorado in the offseason was, is their front 7 big enough to compete in the Power 5? Right? Big question marks on that. But we saw offensive line that was able to protect Sheduer Sanders well enough for him to get 500 passing yards, right? And we saw Dylan Edwards go crazy out the backfield. So I think for Colorado, the main question is going to be defense, right? Defensively, are they going to be able to make stops? Because look, this TCU offense was pretty good, but when Bo Nix, you got to go up to Oregon and play Bo Nix is going to be a little different. Playing against Caleb Williams is going to be a little bit different, and even playing against UCLA is going to be a little bit different because those teams come with a little bit of defense, right? And I think this TCU team honestly got exploited, and maybe they're not going to be a back-to-back champion, but for Colorado to come in week 1 and beat a team that was in the championship the year before was very impressive.
Right, and that leads me to my next question. Right, we saw the post game presser that was talked about a lot as well, especially on First Take by Coach Prime when he stopped the reporter. He was like, "Hey, do you believe now? Do you believe now?" Like I tried to tell y'all, and it's like, although we didn't expect you to win and we didn't expect Sheduer to perform the way that he did,
right?
You don't think you should calm down like just a little bit?
I mean,
just a little, because this ain't USC, this ain't Oregon, this ain't Utah, who ain't even had Cam and beat Florida. Like, you don't think you should calm down just a little bit, my boy?
I like Prime being. I mean, listen. I think everybody has gotten to know what Prime has been like throughout his career as a player, and now him being a coach, and the way that he carries himself. Of like, I'm that guy. I've been there. I've done it. You're not gonna take anything away from me. I'm that guy. Prime's. Truthfully, he's really that guy. He can talk it and he can back it from what we've seen so far and what he started to do in his college career of coaching. But another thing to look at too, like you're saying, is let's pump the brakes a little bit, maybe throw a little slice of humble pie out there. You're talking about, what was it, 50-something new players, or it was between 50 and 70 new total players on Colorado?
Yeah.
No film. You didn't really know what to expect game plan wise. I mean, I don't know if college coaches I don't know if TCU was sitting there going off of Jackson State film of saying what they're going to do, if they're going to run the same plays or similar playbooks or whatever. But is it crazy to think that they went out there and did what they did? Yes and no, but is there that ability factor there? I would say anybody would agree there. I mean, they got a couple athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would say, he could. Let's see how he follows it up. It's a long schedule. You got to play UCLA, right. Like you were saying, Kelly, UCLA, USC. You got to play Washington, and you still got to travel. You still got to travel to Oregon. They're playing. You guys are playing in Austin.
I think we're playing in Austin for that game.
Yeah. That's what I agree. And I get it because there's two sides of the coin with this, right? That's Coach Prime. That's his team, right? Mm-hmm. The team will rally behind him because the team also feels the same way. A head coach is also, in some ways, a spokesman for the rest of the program, the football program. And I think this whole Colorado team feels that same way. We kind of saw from the disposition from Sheduer Sanders and Travis Hunter after the game when speaking about the difference between FBS and FCS. It's almost like they feel like their talent was doubted throughout this summer. Right, by everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Even you look at the win total in Vegas dropped from 6 wins to 4 wins right before the season, right? So I think they've been seeing all of this stuff. I think Coach Prime was just voicing the opinion of the team. But, look, from the outside, I'm on the other side of the coin. I don't agree. I don't think after beating TCU that people should honestly buy into this program yet. I'm not sure if this is still a 6-win team yet, right? There's still going to be a gauntlet in the Pac-12 where you have to prove yourself. And every coach that comes to the Pac-12 has to do this. You know what I mean? Even when Chip Kelly came after coming from a long stint in the NFL, right? Good 5 years. He came to the Pac-12, got his teeth knocked in for 2-3 years. It happens, right? But I think with Coach Prime, it kind of feels like it's supposed to be faster because everything else has happened faster. But I don't think that they'll get over 6 wins. I think the Pac-12 schedule will probably be a little tougher than they think.
And I'm a piggyback off that. I agree with you, right? And not only for that reason, I understand the disrespect and how much y'all have faced. So I get that aspect of just wanting to be like, y'all were wrong. I get that part. However, it's not. I don't want them to be humble. I want them to be who they are. I want them to be what they were doing after last week. But wait a little longer. Wait until you beat the guys like USC, like Oregon. Then I want you to do that. This is way too early because now what happens? Because you already put this out there. So what? We know how the internet can turn on you just like that, right? What happens if you go to USC or when you play USC and it's a whooping like how they did in Nevada, 66-14, 66-21? What happens then? No, now people are laughing at y'all. Now y'all being talked about. Now the disrespect is coming back 10 times harder on the internet. Just wait until you really establish yourself versus one of those opponents. Then it's okay, you can talk. But that's just my thoughts on that.
It's a little premature. A little premature.
A little premature, but I think we all can agree. At the same time, I mean, like you said, he wants the guys to rally behind him. He's a spokesperson of the team, and people love that about Prime.
Yep.
People love that.
Now, Clemson and Duke. Y'all saw what happened there, right? I didn't expect that. I did not expect that. I don't think anybody did. But I think for Clemson, man, what it came down to was that offense was moving the ball. Cade Klubnik was moving the ball. They get in the red zone, and Duke's defense just made the stops when they needed to make the stops, especially that close to the end zone. Other than that one exchange between Klubnik and I think it was number 7, or maybe it was Shipley at running back. That was on them. That was a self-inflicted mistake that turned the ball over. But other than that, every time they drove down the field, Duke's defense always bent, but they never broke. And I think that was just the deciding factors of the game. But Clemson, man, 2 fumbles, an interception. Duke's defense just performed when they needed to. So that, to me, that's what won the game for Duke. What's y'all's thoughts on it?
What I want to say is I watched that whole game with 2 of my very best friends that are both Clemson fans. I watched them go from the time period before, Taj gets there until the transition into Deshaun and then T-Law, and now here we are at Klubnik. Something that I have noticed, and I think that this is something that, people are going to generally start talking about. Do I have a doubt in my mind that Dabo is as great as a coach as he is? Absolutely not. Dabo is definitely a top 5 coach in college football. I would be willing to probably debate that against a lot of people. Will I say that what we've seen since the departure of his noble steedsman at the coordinator positions has been something that is a little bit questioning? Losing Venables, however you want to pronounce it. I know that he's trying to do his thing out in Oklahoma. Seeing what they're doing in recruiting, Clemson has not typically been that top 5 recruiting class like they always do. They go out and they get guys that they do. They're very particular. Once they offer you, they offer you. And they have a select pool of guys that they want to offer, and if those guys don't do it, then they'll move on. But if y'all watch that first half of that game, did y'all notice how many times they were just throwing small dump passes and little 3-4 yard plays? They weren't going for anything. This wasn't the same Clemson that I think we've all watched for the last 5-6 years that's running some kind of RPO or some kind of, crossing routes or some kind of big chunk plays every, 2 or 3 plays. They were Shipley. I think he got the ball the first 6 plays of the game. Ran the ball, dump pass. Ran the ball, dump pass. 3 and outs. And they just, they didn't do anything that was special. They let Duke, honestly, stomp them. They got stomped out.
I also think they got a little too cute in the red zone too, but that's just me.
Yeah. That was embarrassing, man. I don't know if y'all remember one of our last shows. We were talking about different games to watch. I definitely had this game on a game to watch, just based on the fact that Clemson has so much to prove in this game. Right, it's the last game of week 1. You're on Monday, the only game that's on right now, and you lay an egg. You lay a big egg. Offensively, you look pretty bad. I saw a Florida State team this week that beat LSU. That will probably put 50 points on this Clemson team in 2 weeks, right? So when I look at Clemson and I think about how competitive they're going to be in the ACC, I'm really starting to wonder. Because I think Duke is a decent team. I don't think they may compete to win the ACC, but I don't think they're one of the front runners, right? I think that when you trying to digest this game and figure out, well, what do we take from this 7-28 loss? Well, from Clemson, this is nowhere near the offense that we've seen and we've grown accustomed to for the last 7 years. This is totally different. My boy Clay is dying over there, homie.
Yeah,
bro, my allergies. Man, listen, my allergies have been whooping my butt all day long, man. I've been sneezing my face off. My nose has been running all day. I don't know what it is. If it's those small couple of days where the South Carolina weather got into the 80s for a couple of days and then it went back up to 90,000 degrees. But man, I've been dying all day long, bro.
The allergies whooping on you right now.
Whooping on
me. Really, the point that I was getting to with Clemson is that you have a chance to come back from this, right? Looking at the schedule, you got Charleston Southern next, right? You got Florida Atlantic next, then you play Florida State. You have a chance to tone up this offense and figure things out. But I think that, they got some big problems in their engine, right? Might be some transmission issues going on right now. It's going to take some work. Now, is Cade Klubnik the guy? That's the next question, right? Because we tried to blame DJ last year, right? Now we come full circle to Cade now. And is Cade the problem, or is the offensive coordinator the problem, right? Because all these 5-star quarterbacks, somebody's got to work.
I think I want to agree. I want to agree with that too. Is maybe was it DJ the problem? From what we watched from DJ, he didn't look great at Clemson. Now the game that he just got done playing, this guy had 35 seconds in the pocket almost every play. If you actually watch that game, at one point this guy was standing there. His O-linemen were holding the guys, and they were just chopping their feet. This man was standing there going through 4 reads, bouncing again, turning his hips and looking at one side of the field, and bouncing over here, and then there's a guy fucking 10 yards down the field, wide open, waving like, hey, I'm open now, finally. Like, he looked like Tom Brady last week. But I don't know. Have you noticed that, like, just by watching some of Klubnik's throws, he don't really have, like, a zip on the ball that, like, makes him stand out. Like, a lot of his fouls are sloppy, and he does kind of underthrow some receivers.
Yeah. No, I agree. I will say this also. I don't think Duke is going to be a team that competes for the ACC either. I just think they really fed up of that energy. It's opening night. You're beating Clemson at home. The fans are going crazy. I think it was just one of those games, to be honest with you. But yeah, and Kelly, as you said, I'm gonna put this on the OC for right now because it's week 1. But I'm keeping an eye on Klubnik, bro. Like it after a while, it's gonna have to be on you. Like we're gonna start asking questions because they wanted you out. They wanted you in for DJ so bad, and now here it is, and this is your debut. It ain't looking too good. All right, but last recap for week 1, LSU, Florida State.
Oh man,
I expected a good game. And for the most part, it was up until the fourth quarter when they went on that 21-point explosion. For Florida State, that was the difference, right? The run game finally opened up in the fourth quarter. And I think because of that, LSU just didn't know how to respond to it. But first of all, kudos to them for even sticking with the run that long to try to get it going. Because, I mean, after 3 quarters, you're going like most coaches are going to abandon it. I don't know how many coaches are going to say, "No, we're going to stick with the run. We're going to live and die by it the whole way through." So kudos to them. But I mean, for Florida State, man, 39 yards with 11 attempts, averaging 3.5 yards a carry up until that point. Then the third quarter, 8 attempts, 16 yards. So they kind of went away from it a little bit. Then they came back in the fourth quarter and had over 100 and averaged 4.7 yards a carry. That was really just a determining factor for me. Yeah, that's it. I just think LSU really, not LSU, but Florida State really, they just did a great job in the fourth quarter, and that's what won in the game. I will say Jaden Daniels, though, statistically, he looked really good. Statistically, that's what it was, but Blue,
what's up, good, guys?
What's going on?
Yo.
Yeah, but statistically, Jaden Daniels, he looked okay, but that run game finally opening up in the fourth quarter is what really gave Florida State that win. But what do you guys think on it?
Man, I think that the thing that's like wild to me is how different the halves were of football. Like the second half adjustments by Florida State was just like, I mean, LSU played a clean, no penalty first half. They looked like they were, understanding of where they were in certain aspects of like on third downs and it seemed like they were moving the ball a little bit like the way that they wanted to game plan wise, but at the same time, Keon Coleman is a dog, boy. That man is a problem. I'll give it to him that way. But, I mean, this LSU team, after showing that one, I mean, I think we were talking about on some of our previous episodes about LSU trying to be able to compete for this West spot. I hope they bounce back if they're really going to want to do it and see what this Bama team's about. But I'll give it to FSU right now. If FSU plays like that every single week, you could say that they might be able to take that playoff spot, winning the ACC.
I don't want to overreact with LSU as well. I mean, because they were holding them, they were right there up until the fourth quarter. I'm not ready to lose faith on them yet, but because I mean, how many teams are going to stick with the run that long to get it going in a game? But they go definitely have to figure something out.
That Jevin, is it Jevin Verse, number 5, senior?
Jared Verse.
That guy, when you look at him, when he was walking off the field and he took his helmet off, and I feel like he was palming his helmet, that guy is a freak of nature.
Yeah, no, they got some freaks. What I will say, it was a tale of two different halves, right? One team played better first, second half. But some players that played well in both halves. Johnny Wilson, right? Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, those guys are absolute monsters out there. I think they're going to be the best wide receiver duo in college football this year. I like my guys up at Ohio State, right? I love them, the Harrisons and Becca and all those guys. I love them. But given Jordan Travis being at Florida State, I think this Florida State team is actually very dangerous. I don't know too many teams are going to want to go man against a Johnny Wilson that's 6'7", right? And I think this game, we got to find out what they're going to be able to do to exploit those different openings when they can't get anything going on offense. I think those guys are almost like a bailout out there to where they're going to get open versus man coverage. You're going to have to go zone, or you're going to have to simply get a lot of pressure on Jordan Travis. So I think this Florida State team honestly gave me the impression that they're very dangerous, right? And this could be a college football playoff team if they can continue to play the way they're playing.
Yeah, Keon Coleman, like Clay said, I mean, that kid is just different. I mean, now you can see what he can do with like a legit quarterback. I mean, he was balling out at Michigan State, and everyone thought it was just Kenneth Walker. Now you see what happens when you put him in a really good offense. And like you said, too, Jared Verse is different. I mean, this is a kid that was an FCS freshman All-American, FCS All-American at Albany. That kid was playing at Albany 2 years ago. And now he's arguably the best edge rusher in the entire country. And it might not even be a close second. And so you got to give Norvell his props. 2 years ago, everyone in the country was ready to fire him. Mm-hmm. Everyone was giving Prime that job 2 years ago, saying, man, Norvell's on his way out. And we're talking about now with the way Clemson looked on Monday night, Florida State might walk to an ACC championship. And I mean, looking at that schedule, there's not many games that I think are potential even upset games for them. I mean, they look like a bona fide playoff contender. And for LSU, I agree. You can't overreact because it really got away from them in the second half. But you do have to look at Brian Kelly as like 2 years in a row you failed to close that game, an important game for your season. Right. Can you bounce back like you did last year? And I just think you're going to need more consistency from your secondary. I know they were missing some pieces. Mason Smith was out, but Jaden Daniels has to be more consistent down the stretch.
Yeah. You want to shout out Harold Perkins. I mean, the guy is all over the field every single play. It's special.
He could play edge, linebacker, slot safety. Corner, safety,
running back.
He's a Isaiah Simmons mixed with whatever Pro Bowl linebacker you want to put in there that's good in pass coverage and also can get to the quarterback.
That dude's an eraser.
The guy's a certified playmaker.
I know you weren't here, and Clay was really happy for it. So, you know.
Yeah, Blue.
Hey, bring it back.
Oh, yeah, we got to bring it back.
Hey, I got to go to the bathroom, dog.
So Florida and Utah, bro. In that little last
man, here we go.
Bro, okay, so I'll be honest. So I did my power rankings for Athlon Sports this week. Florida was last. I put them dead last in the SEC. I mean, that's how bad this team is. I mean, because you got to think they did lose to Vandy last year with Anthony Richardson, who's a top 4 pick in the NFL draft. And now you give them Graham Mertz with no offensive line, no good. Like, I just want to put this in perspective. Utah had a backup quarterback, and we're missing like 3 defensive starters, and Florida still only put up 11 points and lost by double digits. I'm sorry. Like, to me, it's an indictment on Napier just for like there's like 2 plays. The one where they had the 2 numbers on the field at the same time.
Yeah, 2 number 3s.
Oh, God.
How does that happen? And then the play calling in key moments. I know Clay never wants to see that shovel pass thing that they tried to do. I mean, what was that?
This dude thought it was, I mean, he was like he had to have looked at that clipboard and been like, that's the one, boys. That's the one. He had to have done that. He had to have been like, go ahead. He put a little thing down. Go ahead, do it. I know this is the one.
The worrisome thing to me is I do think they're going to be able to keep some of the recruits they landed, but we talked going into week one how important it was for Napier to win to keep that. I mean, they have a hell of a recruiting class together. I mean, that negative recruiting is starting now, and I'm sorry, like no offense to anyone, if I'm an offensive lineman, Florida could not pay me enough NIL money to come play there, man. They have not developed an offensive lineman, it seems like, in like 7 years. Their offensive line has been consistently bad, and I don't understand why it hasn't gotten better. If I'm an offensive lineman, you could not pay me to go to Gainesville right now until you show me you can develop some offensive line.
Okay, all right. And what's your Colorado versus TCU thoughts? I know we talked about that. I know I said the unsung hero to me that nobody talked about was Dylan Edwards and his contribution, receiving wise, even though he didn't provide much in the run game. What was your thoughts on it?
I agree with you. Dylan Edwards is a freak at running back, and I think you'll see like we talk about the college football game evolving, where running backs have to be receiving threats. He is the prototypical running back you want in 2023, and I think at the end of the day, we all cover. Me, you, Kelly covered the swag when Travis was hurt. Mm-hmm. I think you saw Travis take that jump from true freshman who was injured most of the year to what his real potential could be when he's 100% healthy and rolling. We never got to see that because you remember we opened the season against FAMU. We had a solid game, but he was on the documentary he said maybe 70%,
right?
If that, and then he didn't play till Campbell, and it was really trying to get him into the flow of the game, get his conditioning up, get used to it being an 18-year-old. We saw what he could be, and you got to give him his props, man. That kid, there's a strong argument he is the best player in college football right now. Regardless if that ends up being a Heisman, there's no one more versatile and explosive than Travis Hunter right now in college football. And for Sheduer, not only does Prime consistently put him in the best positions to succeed, and that doesn't take anything away from Sheduer. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm saying Prime understands what Sheduer does well, what offense he likes to run, right, where he succeeds, and he consistently puts him in the best position to do that. So you have to give Sheduer credit, man. Those guys are legit, and I don't want to overreact to say, Colorado. I think some people are going too far overreacting. It's still the first game, but there's a chance Colorado could be really, really good, man. And you've got to give that staff credit for the hitting on evals, transfers that worked out, high school recruits that turned out to be just as good as we thought, or even better with Dylan Edwards. You've got to give that staff credit for putting their players in the best position to succeed. And I'll say this, if Prime continues to win, continues to build at Colorado, regardless of how long he stays, the narrative that he's not actually a good coach is slowly dying in front of everyone's eyes, because to win a close game against TCU on the road week one, it takes a good coach.
Right. And a point I forgot to mention, I'm glad you brought that up about evals, right? I remember Prime said, I remember when Trey Sanders wanted to come to Colorado, and I was trying to figure out why wouldn't you pick up on Trey Sanders, former 5-star recruit, think he was number one in the country at his position, and then Prime was like, he gets injured too much. And what happened during that game? Trey Sanders gets injured, and I'm like, okay, they definitely kind of hit on the evals a little bit. So that's a great point. My last thing about the Colorados I wanted to ask you, I wanted to hear your response on is, you saw after the game, Prime was like, hey, do you believe now? Like, he was talking to the reporter, and we talked about it, and we kind of feel like, yes, we understand it because you were disrespected highly when you probably didn't deserve a lot of that. A lot of those shots that coaches was taking at you, and how people said, analysts actually said that they had a roster comparison compared to UMass. Like, as far as talent goes, right before that game started. So I get the disrespect aspect of it and wanting to be like, you were wrong. But you still only, not to take this away from you, I didn't expect y'all to win, but it's TCU. It ain't USC, it ain't Oregon, it ain't Washington. I think they should have waited, to come out and be all brazy like how they was, because now what happens when you play USC and they do hang up a lot of points on you, that disrespect is coming back 10 times worse. We know how people can be on the bandwagon, but they can easily jump off.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. One, we all got to watch Prime at Jackson. he's not looking ahead wondering, what if I lose this next game? Like, is my trash talk going to bite me in the ass? He's going to talk. He didn't think about that before the Celebration Bowl for South Carolina State. He didn't think about that before North Carolina Central. Like, that's not his flow. Like, he's going to tell you how he feels in the moment, and he's not going to apologize for it. I think it's a weird. I will say this, though, the media doesn't owe him good press, but at the same time, if you're going to put it out there, he doesn't owe you a good response to whatever you're writing out there. So, and I do think you have media that is probably overreacting, saying Colorado's a national title contender, ranking them in the top 15, stuff like that. But you also have media who is like over the top negative, like comparing the roster to UMass. All of us could have went position by position and known that's not true.
Right.
Did any of us pick them to win the Pac-12? No, but no one here was saying Colorado was going to lose to UMass. That's a ridiculous take, and that's just dumb. They're going to be 3-4-0 going into that USC Oregon game, because I don't think Nebraska. We saw what Nebraska looked like last week, and Colorado State's one of the worst teams in the country already. They lost 31 points to an FCS school last year. So I will say, like, I don't think it matters. Prom's going to talk his talk, and even if he lose, me, you, and Kelly saw it. He's going to talk even after a loss, so I don't think he's worried about that at all.
All right, now. That's a more lighthearted topic. TCU unveiled a banner for making the college football playoff and national championship. Not winning it, but hey, we got there. That's good enough. That's memorable. And I will admit, it was a memorable season for them. I won't take that away from them. But I don't know if I want to look at that banner and remember the absolute ass whooping that I took in the national championship. Like, because that's what I think about. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a former player, when you come back and you look up at that banner, you will always remember, yeah, we really got took to the woodshed on that night. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how ridiculous is this, man?
Man, this is a page out of the UCF hand guide. I mean, just imagine this for a second. You hang that banner up, and you got a group of kids coming through for an official visit, and you point at it, and you be like, look, you see that right there? We made the CFB playoff, and we played in the national championship. We played in the national championship. 10 years from now, that kid's going to pull his phone out and be like, y'all got beat by almost 60? Oh, no.
See, I might be in the minority though. I think that's gonna work. Like I think that's a good recruiting pitch. I don't think every team can say this. And if we look at like men's basketball, right? They put up their Final Four appearances. They throw it up on a banner right in the gym. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as the college football playoff. We're just not used to talking about it, right? But I think something like that, you put that in the weight room, you put that in different places, that can inspire the rest of your program. I don't feel like it's as silly as it sounds when you really think about the context of it, and in college sports, how seriously we take the Final Four teams. I mean, quite honestly, those Final Four teams are looked at as the upper echelon of that particular sport, and it took a lot to get there. Not many other teams will get back to that spot. So the college football playoff, having a banner up there, I think you go ahead and do that. Any team, I think you should go ahead and do that. I think if the Washington Huskies, you know how they made it in 2017, they should have a banner too, because I think, for one, it's so hard to win a national championship, and just to make it to that playoff means something. It's better than a conference championship banner. It's the college football playoff.
See, it's like I don't want the 2012 national championship reminder, because I'm gonna think about Michael Dyer being down. Okay, I'm gonna think about Ezekiel Elliott tearing us up in 2015 at Ohio State. That's why I hate it, but that is a great point, Kelly. I do get it.
I'm with Kelly. I don't think this. I thought they were going to do it anyway. I mean, you made the national title. Like, you got to put because I agree with them. Like, in basketball, they put, if you made they have banners for when you made the tournament, when you made the round of 32, when you made the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four, the national championship, and the ones you won. Every basketball program has all 5 or 6, whatever it is. I mean, it is what it is. Like, and wait till the college football playoff starts. They're going to start doing the same thing. First round college football playoff appearances, second round college football playoff appearances, semifinal appearances, national title appearances. Everyone's going to have it. Think about it. Teams put up division titles and celebrate those, and all that means is you were the runner-up in the SEC championship.
I mean, I could see it, yeah.
True.
I would figure that they would put like, instead of doing like first round appearance or something, you would put like the bowl game like champion and just stick with that instead of. But I mean, we're in the college football playoff era, like you said, Kelly. It's going to be, we're going with expansion. It's going to be that second round that made it to the Final Four kind of thing. I could see it, but at the same time, I feel like just first time, and we've never like kind of heard this before. I just feel like it's big UCF vibes.
I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure other teams have this somewhere. It might not be a banner, but like Auburn, they have like on like the, I'm trying to think, like the upper deck, they have like it written out on the upper deck, like SEC West titles, SEC championships, or national champion. Like Florida has it, whereas like on the upper deck, like it'll tell you that like some teams probably have that. The problem is they probably didn't unveil
division championships for sure.
Yeah, and some teams probably have college football playoff appearances and just have it listed somewhere and didn't do a whole banner release on Big Noon Kickoff against Colorado when the whole country was watching, and then go out there and get beat. You know what I mean? Like that's the issue we're talking about. It's not that hang the banner. It was like what happened after they did it caused all the scrutiny. If they would have went out there and beat Colorado by 50, no one would have talked about this.
True. All right, so moving on to Ohio State, right? Only scoring 23 points on Indiana. Is it time for the fans to press the panic button? I know it's early on in the season, but I mean, Kyle McCord, 20 for 23, 239 yards and an interception. You were 2 for 12 on third downs. Marvin Harrison Jr. only had 2 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown that got called back. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say, I'm not seeing it. I'm not versus Indiana. Like I think they had 5 new transfers on that defense and a new defensive coordinator. Now, I know that defensive coordinator was an analyst at Ohio State in 2022, but that's not an excuse. At least not to me, it isn't. So like I'm not liking what I'm seeing right now. I would be panicking a little bit if I'm an Ohio State fan because you got to think about what you got coming up. Michigan, even though they have a cupcake schedule for like the first 4 weeks of the season, they not looking like they falling off anytime soon. And I would hate to lose another one of them. That's on my mind now. We know how that rivalry goes. It's just I don't know. I'd be a little bit scared, but not too much because I know we got Aaron Nolan coming next year. But what are y'all thoughts?
I think that going in panic mode immediately right now. I wouldn't say like panic mode, but I would say that definitely questionable of like going forward what's going to happen. But I think letting the new quarterback get a little bit settled in. They have so much talent to where at some point in the season it's got to click, and if it doesn't, I would say we got to look up at coaching staff decisions of who they're playing in certain positions and certain play calls they're trying to go with whatever game plan they want, but the talent that they have at positions doesn't fit to that game plan. You know what I mean? What I do think, though, is if this does continue to transpire, you definitely don't have to worry about them in their conference. It's going to come down to Penn State, Michigan.
Yeah. This might be the start of a rebuild, guys. I'm not sure. I don't want to overreact from week 1, but I remember our last episode. I spoke about Marvin Harrison Jr. and I said, like, I think he still go top 10, even if he has like under 1,000 receiving yards. And this is because the questions at quarterback. Guys like McCord, who's supposed to be the guy and has to be the guy, isn't looking like it. Devin Brown was also a guy that was talked about a lot. Like he could be the guy also. They both don't look the part. For me with Ohio State, I think Michigan's like licking their chops right now. This Ohio State team looks like a wounded deer, right? The defense hasn't been the best the past couple of years. Offensively, and they now seem like they're falling off a little bit. I think Ohio State might be like easy pickings for a team in the Big Ten. I think right now they're hobbled. They're going to have to figure out their quarterback situation. And I think at minimum, they need to have a quarterback that has confidence out there to at least take the risk and take the shots. I think that's what they're missing right now. And if they can't find that, they're going to be like a 25-point, 20-point game team.
Yeah. I mean, I think luckily these next 2 weeks, they got Youngstown State and Western Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So they got time to build. But if you don't figure it out by Notre Dame in 2 weeks, Notre Dame's going to give them their first L of the season. Then you still have Penn State. Then you have a trap game traveling to Wisconsin. Then you still got to play Michigan at the end of the year. Like they don't have a there's some tough games on the docket for them. So I don't see a college football playoff contender right now. If they get to 10 wins, it'll be a great season for what they have on the field right now. But right now, I think Penn State and Michigan both look like I would say more complete teams than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame right now is a better team than Ohio State.
After week 1 and looking, I would agree.
Definitely. Okay, so moving to Alabama, Jalen Milroe. We know Nick Saban said that this quarterback competition was going to go well past week 1 for them to find out who their guy was. But Jalen Milroe, 258 yards, 5 total touchdowns, and I mean, not to mention that ridiculous play that he ended up running it in for the score that I think went on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. How do you feel about his performance, and would that performance be enough for you to think that he's the guy?
I feel like we have to get some more looks at if they're going to go. It's Ty Simpson is who they're trying to still battle still.
Ty Buckner.
Yeah, Ty Buckner, and then Ty Simpson's third straight.
Okay, I would say. I mean, let's see what the other guys are going to look like. I mean, they got a big week next week. I mean, it's going to be a big week to see what's going to happen there. I mean, they almost lost that game last year. Everybody saw it. They should have lost that game last year. Questionably, just depending on the Quinn Ewers injury, but I don't know, man. Jalen Milroe, I mean, you can't deny that he's athletically gifted. You can't deny. I mean, that guy, for being that big and be able to move like that, I mean, if he turns out to be a passer and gets that offense and plays like, or they get some RPO looks and that man starts pulling the ball from some running backs to the outside, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play against that. No, sir.
Yeah, I mean, after last game, I throw the keys at Jalen Milroe and just go drive it, bro. I don't care if we crash or not. I think Alabama needs that playmaker at quarterback. You know, I see a lot of athletes on that team. I see a lot of plays being made last game. But I think Jalen Milroe, with him, that's a game-breaking talent. That's the guy that's going to win you ball games. I don't think you need a game manager at Alabama at this point. I think with Jalen Milroe, you build your offense around him more. I need more running plays. I need around 10 of those a game, right? I need him to be moving the pocket, and I trust his arm enough, right? Maybe if we run the ball and work on our rushing attack enough, we can stay efficient in the pass game and keep our pass attempts under 20 attempts a game and give Jalen Milroe the keys, but also find ways to put guardrails up and keep this thing going.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was Middle Tennessee State. I mean, I'm not going to put any make or break decisions on what you do against a lower tier Group of 5 program. If I'm an Alabama quarterback, I think this week's a test. Because we all know if Bama goes out there and loses at home to Texas, and Milroe doesn't have a good game, it's a wrap.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wrap. But the problem is, I do think Milroe is the best option because I don't think there's a lot. I think this is the weakest quarterback room Alabama has had in probably 10-plus years.
Right.
Buckner is the same quarterback at Notre Dame who was struggling and lost to Marshall. And then you got Ty Simpson, who's a good quarterback, but it just doesn't look like he had. For some reason, he just hasn't put it together yet. He's still a young kid, but Milroe is probably the best option. And I think he was impressive last week, but until he plays legit competition, I think the jury's still out on whether he's the guy moving forward. But the problem is, I don't think Nick Saban has anyone else. He doesn't have a Tua sitting on the bench to come in for Jalen Hurts.
Is this one of those first? I think we talked about this one time on one of the episodes. I think we all kind of come to this. Is this one of those first? Not first, but is this one of those years where we noticed that Alabama doesn't have that normal like stable of running backs like they normally do? Like there's not a clear-cut guy that's like, this guy needs the most touches per game. You know what I mean? But they don't have that guy at running back.
They've really struggled to run the football if you go back and watch this Middle Tennessee State game. If you take away Milroe, they were not able to run the football. That offensive line is massive.
Yeah.
They probably got they got the biggest offensive line probably in college football, and they could not run the football. They don't have that guy at running back, which makes the quarterback carry all the pressure. Because you look back through, even when they had like the Cokers and the McCarrons, they had NFL caliber running backs. And like, I don't know if right now, would you say their running back core is by far top 3 in the SEC? I think there's a debate that, they might not be top 5.
No.
Yeah. Honestly.
Last year, you kind of escaped that with the transfer portal, right? You go ahead and get Jahmyr Gibbs, development-wise, we haven't seen that from Alabama, and that's kind of why I'm so in Milroe's corner, because he does bring that rushing attack, right? On his keeps and read options, he's creating that rushing attack for Alabama, and I think if he's not doing that, and you got a game manager back there, you might find yourself behind the 8 ball at times.
Yep.
Okay. Also, Tay Fox, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was that Middle Tennessee State player, Batman would not get that information out of me. I don't know who willingly admits that. Like, just
couldn't beat that out of me, dog.
Could not beat that out of me. Ain't no way. All right. So, who's your offensive and defensive players of Week 1? I feel like a lot of people, probably all y'all, gonna say Sheduer. And I mean, 510 yards. I mean, let's just be honest.
You got me.
Yeah, let's just be real. Defensively, though, I would say it's Trevin Wallace of Kentucky. 12 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He caused a fumble he caused the fumble as well. That went for a 69-yard fumble recovery touchdown or something like that. Then he stopped the QB sneak on 4th down, 4th and 1, 4th and goal, something like that. His impact for Kentucky was really good. So I'm gonna go Trevor Wallace defensively. But who's y'all?
I think that, obvious ones that we're all going to talk about is going to be, the trio in Colorado, Dylan Edwards, Travis Hunter, Sheduer, Keon Coleman. Starting with defense, I can't pronounce his first name. Latu for UCLA. Yeah. 33 pass rushing snaps. He had 3 sacks, 4 hits, 4 hurries. His grade was 93.9 PFF rating. The guy had a day.
Ridiculous.
And then for offense, man, I'm going to shout out Kobe. I'm going to go Oregon O-line as a whole with 35 rushing attempts for 360 rushing yards. I'm going to go Oregon O-line for an offensive unit of the week.
Wow.
Thank you, man.
And they were really moving that Portland State D-line.
Put up 81 points.
I know it's Portland State, but I'm going to say, hey, man, think about it. We're looking at 363 rushing yards on 35 attempts. I mean, hey, I'll take that yardage per play all day long.
Oh, they did it. Kudos to them. Offensively, I'm going to go with the receivers at Florida State, man. I like those. Well, actually, no, I'm not. The receivers at Florida State are the reason why I'm picking Jordan Travis. I'm sorry, I said that a little wrong. I think Jordan Travis, to me, took a very big leap this year. I think we're looking at a new Jordan Travis. He doesn't look as stiff. He's throwing the ball. He's playing with confidence. He looked very good versus LSU. I got to give it to Jordan Travis. I love Sheduer Sanders, right? But I throw some exposure down to Jordan Travis. And defensively, I didn't have too many guys. I did like Latu from UCLA. Just watching the UCLA game, he was the most consistent guy. They played like 4 different quarterbacks. So I like Latu a lot. And I'll go with Latu as my defensive player.
Yeah, offensively, man, there's so many options because you can go Travis Hunter, you can go Sheduer Sanders. I think you can go the Keon Coleman. I mean, he had 9 catches, 100-plus yards, and 3 tubs against LSU. That's in all his touchdowns. He was the guy who went up and made. It was too just put it on their heads. And another one, he took the ankles of that dude in midfield. It wasn't even fair. It just made him look stupid. So I'll go Keon defensively. I think the kid from UCLA is probably the option. I will say honorable mention. He didn't put up a lot of stats. Jared Verse, man, with just the impact he had as an edge rusher, he opened up so many things for that Florida State defense. And so I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Jared Verse defensively.
When he folded Jaden Daniels, I was like,
oh. Don't do that.
I was like, oh man.
Javon Williams said, should I be concerned that LSU gonna let me down again? JD5 didn't look much better than last year. I wouldn't be concerned just yet.
Week 1.
Yeah,
I'm not the Kings. You're still a good program.
Yeah,
good
Javon, you could be Florida. Just remember that.
Right, that's true. Much better shape. What I will say about Jaden Daniels, though, he's a low volume guy. If you think Jaden Daniels is gonna go out there and win you a lot of games, that's not really him.
That's
not. You have to rely on the defense. If you think he's gonna throw for over 350 yards, that's not gonna happen either. So I think LSU, it's not really tempering your expectations, but understanding what Jaden Daniels is, right? He's a low volume quarterback, and to win a lot of games, you're gonna have to play a lot of defense.
Before we move on, Kobe, intriguing Week 2 matchups. Something that I've noticed over some of these higher scoring games for FSU, undercover wheels. Jordan Travis has undercover wheels. The guy can move in open field, dog.
Mm-hmm.
He can move. He can get from the pocket to the sideline, and if he has like that one little move one-on-one, he's got some speed.
He does. He does. I agree. All right, now week 2 picks. Nebraska, Colorado. I feel like we are going Colorado. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Plus, I mean, the motivation is there after the old boy said what he said about Coach Brown. Texas A&M, Miami, though. Who y'all got?
I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. I'm gonna go A&M.
Come on.
I'm
I'm
gonna
riding
go
away.
A&M.
I'm riding away with you. Bobby
I'm
Petrino,
gonna go
A&M.
A&M. I think that as a program situation, I think Miami's in a better situation because I feel like we all think that A&M is a dumpster fire, but for some reason, something in my gut says this is an A&M game.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The one I've been waiting on since last year, after seeing last year's game, App State, UNC. App State for the upset.
Listen, I'm never
App
betting
State for
against
the
them.
upset.
Give them to me. Never betting
Crazy,
against
man.
them. Give them to me. App State. Give them to me. You can never bet against them. Give them to me.
I'm
never
betting
would've
against
bet
him. I'm betting against him. Give me North Carolina. Give me Drake May. I think it's a Drake May coming out party. He got embarrassed last year. This year, he's here to show that he's the number 1 quarterback prospect.
Yeah, I want to pick App State in my soul because that's kind of my group of 5 team. I tried to tell y'all last week, Drake May in that North Carolina team's legit, and y'all were Beamer ball, baby, Beamer ball. It got shut down last week.
I was right there with you. I was telling you. I said I'm on the other side of North Carolina. I'm not with the Beamer boys. I'm still saying that Clemson's beating them boys. I'm gonna die on that hill.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not going to go that far. Clemson looked really – I mean, Duke is really bad, but I'm going to go with North Carolina this week. Man, I do think it's going to be close, though, because that quarterback for App State looked really good last week against Gardner-Webb. So they'll make it close, but I think North Carolina escapes.
All right. Oregon, Texas Tech. Come on now. I'm gonna
show them love. I'm gonna show them love again. I'm gonna rock with the Ducks.
Come on, man. Give me Oregon. Bo Nix.
I'm gonna rock with the Ducks.
Yeah, I'll take. I mean, how do you feel, Kobe? I want to ask you. They lost to, let me make sure, Wyoming last week, and y'all are only 6-point favorites after putting up 81 last week.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, I get, former quarterback Tyler Shaw, it's a potential storyline there, so you want to make it a little more dramatic. But nah, man, I wasn't even a believer in Tyler Shaw when he was with us. I don't think he's gonna magically turn up just because it's us that he's playing. Like, nah, it's to be only like a 6-point favorite is crazy.
Say it, Kobe. Say it. Say hashtag Knicks for Heisman.
Say Nick Heisman, yes.
He's ready.
I will say that.
We've been waiting.
I would definitely say that. Come on, man. I'm not saying he's the favorite of that, but I think he'll be in New York. That's just me. All right. And, of course, the biggest one, Texas versus Bama.
I feel like it's hard for us to just jump to a conclusion here because I think this is a toss-up game. I think it really is. It could go both ways. I'm going to say, what's the spread, first off?
Hang on.
After it's moved because we're at Friday.
Bama by 7.
They got Bama at a touchdown. You think what's the kickoff for them?
I still believe Bama pulls it out.
What's kickoff for them?
What you mean, 6 p.m.?
Okay, 6 p.m. So you think that the spread will move a little bit closer to kickoff?
I don't think so. I think it'll probably be about 6 or 7.
I'm gonna say, just because of the situation, I'm gonna say the home field advantage for Bama, even if it's gonna be like that. I'm gonna rock with Bama.
And give me Texas, man. Give me Texas. Give me Texas. Give me Texas. Give me Texas. I think last year Texas had a really bad taste in their mouth after that game. They knew they had a chance to win it. It feels like the W was snatched from them. I think they're going in there and upset Alabama. I think they're going to go in there really playing like an experienced team that we know that they are. And we're going to see a nice Quinn Ewers. He's going to team up with a guy like Xavier Worthy out there. It's going to make some plays. I think the X factor in this game on both teams is going to be Jalen Milroe's performance, right? If he balls out, then okay, Bama can do it. But I think if he does the same performance he had this past weekend, Texas is going to run away with this one.
Yeah, give me Texas too. I think Texas gets it done. When you look at quarterbacks who can go into Bryant-Denny and win, It takes an elite quarterback, and I think Bama has a significant quarterback edge in this. I mean, Texas has a significant quarterback edge over Bama. Quinn Ewers showed last year that he can go out there and ball out. He was out-dueling Bryce Young last year in that matchup. And so I think Quinn Ewers comes back to make a statement. They return all their offensive linemen. They return like Xavier Worthy and all their weapons. And defensively, Bama looks vulnerable. We talked about this. Like outside of Kool-Aid McKinstry, they're arguably their second best defensive piece is a true freshman in Caleb Downs. So I think they can be vulnerable there. And their defensive line at the end of the day really and truly didn't look amazing last week. I think Texas is going to find a way to pull off the upset.
I think something that's cool to see the pettiness that goes back and forth, but Bama putting them boys in the nosebleeds, fans wise.
Yeah,
Gotta love it.
They did the same thing in Texas though.
Smart. Javon Williamson, doubt is only your freshman. 3 more years of that boy after this. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, my boy. I'm glad you noticed it. All right. Now it's time for overreaction, not an overreaction to close out the show. I seen people say this. This is not coming from on 3. This ain't coming from no. Like I've heard people say these things, which is why these are this week's overreaction, not overreaction. Colorado will upset USC later this season.
No,
overreaction.
that's not how.
They give up 42 to an average Chandler Morris, bro. Caleb Williams is going to just be ignorantly good in that game.
They're gonna Caleb's low key gonna pick them boys apart.
Yeah, I just think about depth around that time of the season, and this Colorado team has brought in so many different players. Like injuries are inevitable, so I'm wondering about depth at that part in the season. Who's going to be ready to go? It might not be all these guys that were playing in week 1.
Okay, waves on swim. Texas State just came off of a win over Baylor, bro. Give me Texas State over you.
Yeah, give me Kenny. I told y'all.
I'm about to say GJ. You like that?
All right. Both Sheduer and Travis will be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. Somebody famous said this.
Overreaction. They're not going to bring both of them. It's too loaded this year because you got to think. Well, usually because I will say this: it depends on how many finalists they bring, as we've seen it range from 5 to 3, and it has to do with how close the voting is. Since they take votes away from each other, it's going to be really tough for both of them to go. You look at Nix, Caleb Williams, Drake May. I mean, there's too many other contenders right now, so I think that's an overreaction.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to be overreaction. I mean, now don't get me wrong. Do I think that out of the two of them, this could be bold too. Out of the two of them, who I could see being in New York, Travis Hunt, because he's playing both sides of the ball and he has that aspect and factor looking at him. But I mean, to think that going to New York as for Sheduer as a quarterback, man, you got to tell me that he's got to be better than Michael Penix. He's got to be better than Caleb Williams. He's got to be possibly better than Bo Nix because there is smoke for Bo Nix, and you got to be over Drake May. I mean,
and Jordan Travis. I mean, Jordan Travis. And let Quinn Ewers go and beat Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian Denny with a big game. Quinn Ewers' Heisman hype is going to be through the roof.
And we haven't seen who's going to make their case as a running back yet.
Yeah, I say it's an overreaction. I think that both of those players will be in the top 10 for Heisman votes this year, but I don't think they'll both be invited, just kind of based off politics. I'm not sure if the NCAA is ready for something like that anyway.
Yeah.
Overreaction, not overreaction. We are all witnessing the downfall of Clemson.
I wouldn't say either. I would say that we have to see this season kind of transpiring and what's going to be going forward. Do I think that they are taking steps back? We saw it last year. Do I think that was an awful Duke loss? Absolutely. Them boys had no business losing that game with the talent level, top to bottom on the roster, head coach to head coach matchup. I mean, this very well could be, but it could be one of those things where give them another recruiting class and maybe a strong second half of the season, and it could be right back up to being, consistent top 7 team in the country.
If they don't start using the transfer portal, it's a wrap.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, at this stage of football, you have to.
Like, he's got his pride aside. Like, this is getting outrageous.
Yeah, you have to.
He's
in the NIL comments ain't helping him.
Yeah, he's gonna be sitting there singing what was it like Hickory Dickory Dock with his stupid gloves and wondering why he's not getting recruits.
Yeah, I think this might be happening. I can't call it yet because he still had a couple of 10-win seasons the past 3 years, but it feels like it. Like it feels like all the walls are falling down. I don't have any faith in the Clemson team going forward.
Okay. Hey, Miak, I feel like you're trolling at this point. There's no way you believe that. There's no way you not like Caleb. There's no way you believe that, bro. All right, last one. DJ was not the problem at Clemson.
I'm not gonna say that. That's an over. He was bad at Clemson. Like he was part of the problem.
He contributed to the problem.
Yes, like he was an issue.
He was definitely one of the ones holding the boat, but I wouldn't say that he was the only problem for Clemson. I mean, they have other problems other than DJ, but I think that DJ is now moving to greener pastures with the ability. He had a really good week one. I'm happy for the guy.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad you brought this up. I'm starting to think that DJ wasn't the problem at Clemson. As bad as he played, he was being coached, and he did run some plays that were being called. So as bad as I think he was in that offensive system, it looks like that offensive system itself is pretty bad looking at this year.
That loss of Tony Elliott and Venables leaving could have signaled the real downfall of Clemson, because I don't think people realize how good of an OC, even though Tony Elliott is not doing a very good job as head coach, he's still a hell of an offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I want to see them use Maffa more.
Who's that?
There's backup running back behind Shipley. I want to see them use Maffa more.
Oh, 7.
Yeah. Phil Maffa.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hey, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. That's all we have this week for FBS Fridays. I can't wait for the show after we see this Bama-Texas matchup, UNC App State. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a good one for sure. But, hey, y'all got anything coming up on y'all channel before we get out?
I got a couple watch parties going on tomorrow, man. Got a Tuskegee and Kentucky State watch party in the morning. Then, of course, Jackson State and Southern in the evening, man. So go ahead, kick it at the Lace Up Podcast Network. We got it all. We'll be on there all day. I'm going to order some pizza, get the homies together. We're going to do it up.
All right. Luke, got anything going on, bro?
Nah, man. Up here in South Dakota right now, so I'll be covering the Montana State South Dakota State game tomorrow night, man. So you just stay tuned for the channel highlights, all that good stuff from the game tomorrow night.
Bet. Hey, thank y'all for tuning in, man. We'll see y'all next week. We out. Peace.